Hi, folks. Dana Torgersen here, and welcome to our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM live webinar. As I mentioned, I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing for Security Solutions here at Sumo Logic. As a matter of quick housekeeping, this live webinar is being recorded, and I'll take some time at the end for any questions that you may have that you'd like to bring up. And you can just go ahead and use the Q&A button there along the way. And with that, we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. And we've allotted about 30 minutes for this conversation, this quick webinar. So I want to ensure I can get you folks on to your next meeting and do so on time. So with that, I'll get started here. To clarify first, all the different security solutions that we've got here at Sumo Logic, I want to just give you a quick view of the broad range from audit and compliance all the way over to cloud source solutions. But today, for the purpose of this presentation, I'll be zeroing in, be focusing on our Cloud SIEM solution. This is how we automatically triage alerts, automatically detect threats across all of your data, regardless of where it resides, and be able to help you perform threat hunting and perform your investigation workflows as well, using the Sumo Logic platform. Now, some of the folks I'm seeing here in the attendee list looks like for a broad group of different companies, so I appreciate you folks jumping in here. So I do see some customers, so maybe you're already aware of some of these challenges and these pains, but for everybody, I just want to make sure we're on the same page that really security operations must change. And it comes down to a couple of key reasons here too. On the left-hand side, we think about cloud adoption and all the digital transformation efforts that have happened. And the fact that as you're moving these workloads and these old legacy servers in your data centers and co-location facilities, and now you're going into a public cloud of some shape or form or brand or preferred vendor, the trouble is the security just wasn't built for the cloud. Specifically, legacy SIEM tools were never built to run in the cloud or actually handle all that extra cloud information and data that you're pointing at it. And so this is one of the reasons that really leads to the second point here. The fact that the threat landscape is always changing, it's always evolving, but now there's been this shift in the attack surface, due in part because of all this cloud adoption and the digital transformation efforts that have been underway. But on the right-hand side, this is where really the rubber meets the road. This is the alert fatigue syndrome and the pain point of having too many alerts that you're drowning in with so much noise and false positives potentially that you simply can't get to them all. In fact, in a 2020 State of Modern SecOps and Automation, there was this is a report from June of 2020. You can find it on sumologic.com under our resources section. 3 out of 4 companies, and there was about 429 globally that were surveyed, 3 out of 4 said they would need to hire 3 or more security analysts just to be able to get to all of the alerts that they get on us every single day. It just keeps resetting. And we're cognizant and respective of the fact that security analysts and SOC analysts have this constant target on your backs too. And if you're a SOC director, of course, you're trying to make sure that you hold the team together. You're probably feeling that you can't hire enough people to be able to get in front of this. This is really why it's no longer a human scale problem. And so all of these perfect storm challenges and pains are coming together. And that's really why we're helping folks to modernize their security operations and do so with a Cloud SIEM. Now, we believe that in order to evolve and to modernize your security operations, you really need a completely different Cloud SIEM solution. And so with our cloud native platform, Sumo Logic, running natively in AWS for the last 11 years, and our Cloud SIEM enterprise technology, we're delivering that now for our customers. And here are just some of the key differentiators that we provide with this solution for Cloud SIEM, from automated insights all the way down to our rapid time to value that we can provide. But if I give you one quick click here and show you a drill down into this first bullet, this first really key differentiator, if you will, this is our automated insights. And this is how we're automatically generating these actionable insights. And these aren't just prioritized alerts, but we're enriching it. We're doing so automatically with user context information and network context information, utilizing our different sensors and collectors, including a Zeek sensor, which is a network monitoring that you can put into your environment, and different choke points that you want to choose to be able to get some of that network traffic north, south, or even east, west. We also play with and pull in data from AWS Network Firewall too. Or using VPC traffic mirroring, we can use that same Zeek sensor in other different public providers, public cloud providers. So this little blue circle on the right here is trying to show how we're taking in the alerts, we're taking in your user information, network information, your device data, applications that you're running, or I should say that runs your business, and your cloud services. All that information in all those different potential areas where they live, and not everything's on-prem, and definitely not everything's in the cloud. It's most likely you're dealing in a hybrid cloud environment for the most part. Although some of you folks might be just truly cloud only, cloud native, which is great. That's bleeding edge. All that data is being looked at by our Cloud SIEM Enterprise solution with our adaptive signal clustering engine. And that's part of our Insight engine technology, where it's this algorithm that's looking at all of the different threats and the different alerts that are coming through, and the different risk that's been associated with each. And when they reach to a certain score, a default score, I believe it's 12, although it is modifiable, working with your technical account manager, this is what's going to then fire an insight. And insight is really our opinionated view of the threats that matter most, that really you and your security brothers and sisters should be looking at and dealing with immediately. These are the critical threats. We're not going to go so far as to call it the B word, but these are what is probably leading to that, because we're looking at this information, all these signals that have fired attached to a particular entity. And that entity can be a IP address, a host name, MAC address, or even the concept of a custom entity. And so by tracking that entity, firing these insights, you're greeted with what really matters most. And we do this so that you don't have to go searching and digging and querying for threats. You're not having to monitor just dashboards and use our apps, which are in the core platform. No, instead, think of it more like a silver platter, where we're saying, go do this first. Then when you have time in your busy day, you could go deeper into all these other areas, digging through your signals, if that's what you'd like. Now, this is just a quick reminder slide for myself to remind you folks how excited we are that Gartner recognized us and named us as a visionary in their 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEM report that came out just earlier this year. And we really are excited because this tells us that they're recognizing and validating our innovation, the roadmap that we shared with them, and of course our execution. Not to mention the fact that they are actively looking at and speaking to customers and enterprises and government agencies and all kinds of organizations to get a sense of customer satisfaction and happiness scores with the solution. And so that also factored in heavily as well. So it makes us very, very proud. So with that, I would like to show you folks this day in the life of an analyst's life using Sumo Logic and our Cloud SIEM solution. And we'll show you how we're looking at records and turning those down into signals by triggering with our rules content, which is out of the box and built in, ready to go, to then derive and generate these correlated signals of what we call insights. So with that, I'll flip over here into the UI. And again, a reminder, if you have any questions, go ahead and send them into the Q&A window, and I'll get to those in just a minute here. What I'm greeting you with right off the start, this is our heads-up display. This is our main page of the Cloud SIEM solution. A lot of customers like to throw this up on their wall, on their SOC, or on their larger screens just to get a lay of the land. And there's a lot to look at here. I'll walk you folks through it. Your eyes are gravitationally drawn to the center, but right now I'm just going to move up to the upper left-hand corner and show that the system is online. It's clearly not offline. This is a true SaaS delivered solution using any browser. I'm using a Chrome browser here. Choosing the days of information that I want to see. If I want to see 24 hours worth of information, or if I would rather actually see 2 days worth of information, for instance. And as I'm looking at these, I can see that we've taken all of the unstructured and structured data, brought it into Sumo Logic, Then the Cloud SIEM solution has turned those into records. We've normalized it and parsed it automatically during stream ingest. And so now we've got 15 million records. And that's about a 1% increase in the last period of time. And so since my period of time is 2 days, there you go. We're up 1%. That's fine. Your mileage may vary for all of this stuff. This is just a demo environment here. You might see much more dramatic spikes and shifts as you bring on new source of information, like you just invested in CrowdStrike, for instance, and maybe got rid of some other previous endpoint protection vendor that you had. So now when you start ingesting that data from CrowdStrike, you could start to see a certain peak in your records coming in. Now, next to records are the concept of signals. So our more than 600 content rules that are out of the box, ready to go, this is what's going to be looking at in various types of match and aggregation rules, curated and managed by Sumo Logic Threat Engineering Content Team. And apparently in this 2-day period, of those 15 million records, we found 1 million signals, 1 million of these enriched alerts, and that was about just less than a 1% of an increase over the last 2 days. Now, this is really where a lot of SIEM vendors, legacy vendors, even next-gen SIEM vendors will stop. They leave you with these notable events or these alerts or prioritized alerts and say, go have at it. Well, 1 million is certainly an awful lot to go through. So we go further than that. And with that insight engine using our adaptive signal clustering, where we're clustering these signals together around a central theme, which is the endpoint, that's what derived these insights. It looks like we're 8% down in the last 2-day period. No harm, no foul. But let's bring you over to the center now. So those insights, those 11 insights, are represented by these triangles. And the color matters. Red is a new insight that nobody on your team has started looking at yet, or at least nobody has taken ownership yet. Yellow indicates something that people have grabbed and assigned to themselves, or you can assign it to others. The whole system is set up for collaboration across your team. Make sure everybody's singing from the same page. And there's also green, indicating, of course, a positive closure of that insight, whether it was closed because it was legit, or whether it was redundant, or maybe it was perhaps it was a false positive, but at least you flipped them from red to green. There's also, when you start having customized workflows, which is built right into the product, the solution is made so that you can tailor Sumo Logic to your needs, not the other way around. And that's great. And that's what customers have really asked for. And we're delivering that with all these updates we've been pushing out. Those types of workflows, if there's an insight in that workflow, would show up in the custom column. It would also be shown on the left here. And apparently there's one right now, but it's probably hidden or stacked on top of one of these other insight triangles here. But you would see around bar charts are representing the different signals. And as you can see, when my mouse is moving over here, I'm getting hover pop-ups representing each one of the items. So as part of a day in the life, you would drill down into the information. 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, probably click into the insights here. And so now I'm talking to the security analysts. This page back here, the main heads up display page, generally this is where maybe a CISO would pop his or her head in, and a SOC director of the SOC, VP of security would probably pay attention maybe at this level of the screen. Also on the left-hand side here too, seeing almost a gamification as you're flipping and moving and progressing insights through the workflow. New, in progress, custom, closed. Or this graph, which shows you another alternative view in a timeline left to right, with timestamps here and dates indicating what's been created in red and those that you've closed in gray with the little white tip. And that just helps move folks through. You can see the latest insight over here, quick little baseball card style view. And also commenting here, ongoing stream of consciousness of all the folks, all of your analysts in your SOC working on this product at the same time. But as an analyst, I jump into insights. I'm looking at my tabular view right now, so I can see in order 76 different insights. I can select and choose them if I want. I could assign it to folks, change the commenting. Also, I'm suppressing right now the closed, because that would just be thousands of items that we've worked on, and that's in the past. Let's focus on the current right now. This is a day in the life, so I could filter this. I could also, some people prefer to look at it in a board view. in a more of a Kanban style view. That's fine too. And as soon as I've changed that, that's my view now. It's the system's going to remember that I always want to look at it in this view, and I can always toggle between the two. In the tabular view, you're greeted with understanding the creation date of when this insight fired, the insight name. In this case here is insight 4062. That's just a unique identifier that's attached to each insight, so you can keep things straight. And then there's a descriptive name that's automatically created. I didn't type that in, the system did. The system did because it's looking at all the different MITRE ATT&CK framework tactics and techniques that we also have tags here that you can see. And it's using those tags from those tactics and techniques to understand what really is happening. What is this insight about? Can we describe this potentially critical incident? And that's how we perform that. That's how we pull that off. We can also see the severity of this overall incident compared to other the severity of this insight compared to other insights. I mentioned the concept of an entity. Each insight is attached to a unique entity, and here it's apparently a username, Deb Smith. Here it's an entity of an IP address, 192.168.38.106. And on the far right, I'm seeing the different signals that make up this one insight. It's a one-to-many relationship. I've got 3 signals here that made up this one insight. I've got 4. I've got 5 unique signals. Apparently there was 9 total that make up just this one. And this one apparently has exfiltration with command and control exhibited behaviors. And on the very far right here is the another baseball card view, a little heat map, left to right showing the timestamp of when things are firing, and 0 to 10 indicating each different signal's relative severity or risk score. And as you can see, there's some of these risks are under the radar. They're severity level of 2s and 3s and 1s. This crossbar is representing a severity level of 5. And as you can see, all these different items, especially this one here, look at how populous that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all firing at 5 or below. Now, folks, if in your organization with your current SIEM or whatever solution you're using to help understand and manage threats and risk for your organization, if you're due to cost concerns or other reasons, or maybe there's some technical issues that you're having to let some of these lower severity threats just hit the floor and you're not actually bringing them in for whatever reason, that's where an awful lot of risk lies, especially when you think about in terms of the reconnaissance stages of an attack and then the latter stages as you're moving through and propagating your craft as you're attacking or targeting somebody's systems. Let me go back to this view here as well. Now, back in the board view, very simple. Similar information is captured there. You're losing that concept of the heat map, but that's fine because inside each insight is this timeline view of what's actually happening and firing. And I can drag and drop these to different stages. In each one of these stages of the workflows of my left to right from new, in progress, maybe I've got a stage where the email team is going to work on this. This is probably a phishing attack. Maybe I've got tier 3 analysts and response teams. I could rename all of these different categories to whatever it is that my team currently uses. And then of course closed is showing 0 because I've set a filter to not show those, to not be bothered or having a really long scroll page because of that, which would be thousands of them going by. So if it's 7 a.m., it's Monday. I've just logged in. I'm looking at this new, my colleagues, none of us have gotten to some of these. There's another piece here too of how to know where to go first is the concept of a global confidence score. Now, this is something we introduced just a couple of months ago. We're taking in all this information because we are native in the cloud. And so when you close out an insight, you're saying whether the insight was true positive. It was really a legitimate threat, and you've worked it and you've closed it and it was resolved. That information, or marking it as a false positive potentially, that data anonymously is being fed back into our global intelligence service across all Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM customers. And so you're using the power of the crowd with our machine learning in the back end, which is actually helping to assign a score. And the score is going to be from 0 to 100 in increments of 5. So one tactic would be to say, hey, there's a lot of new ones here, more than a couple. So maybe I need to filter this down. You can actually do so on the right. You can search by confidence score, resorts, change my view from not starting with the low confidence which might indicate they could be false positives or not that actionable, is probably the best way to say it. But go for the ones that are the most actionable, the highest level of confidence. And here's a score of 95, 95, 95, 85, 75. Now I've kind of set up my Monday, haven't I? Now I know that I can go hit Insight 3951 first, which is made up of 5 signals. Apparently, is a low severity. Maybe I'll go for this one with a medium severity. Duration, dwell time has been about 11 days. Something's been going on. So I'll take that one. Insight 3995, I believe it was. 3965. Now I'm looking at an Insight detail page. Whether you caught that or not, now I've looked at the silver platter of insights and I've sorted based on how I want to prioritize and look at them. Now I'm actually in my investigative hat. I'm working backwards from the one-to-many relationship of I have one insight. Now I'm going to see all the many signals that made it up. And we graphically show that left to right again with the timeline view. And I'm showing a chart going from 0 to 5 to 10 for the level of signal, the level of risk. And so if I hover, I can see a severity level 2. There was a threat intelligence match with AWS API call. Okay, that's something. That's a piece of it. Then if I go here, it looks like there's a severity 3 AWS API call from a terminated Active Directory account. Okay. And some time has gone by, days have ticked by, and we're looking back at a default of, I think it's 12 or 14 days in a period. So this isn't just a 24-hour, 48-hour look back that we're doing some magic. We're looking back and we're holding all this information at state to look and see where the threats are. And this can be extended going back up to 30 days. So here now we're getting an AWS network firewall, had a high severity, and that severity had a risk level of 5. Then we had a couple of other items. These items have clearly all added up to a score of 12 or more. That is adjustable, and that's basically the straw that broke the back. That is what is saying, let's fire an insight on this. And I can see all the different types of rules that were used to fire this signal, whether it was a blue diamond, we've got a teal little circle with a squared edge, we've got a purple pentagon for threat intelligence matches, and then file analysis. We have the ability to actually carve files using our network sensor and put those files into an S3 bucket, and then actually you could use Yara rules that you pull off of GitHub from our, the greater security community, and then actually analyze those files based on that. And that would show up as a hit with a yellow square, if that were the case. And as I've hovered over these signals, I'm also highlighting the signal down below, or I could just simply scroll through in reverse order, or I could change the ascending and descending order, or sort these in any other shape that I want to. But I'm seeing this attack play out, this potentially critical incident here. I'm seeing a lot of meta information, a lot of data from all the various fields that we've abstracted from that actually alert information. And if I drill down and I say AWS Network Firewall was triggering here, I have the meta information. Now I'm looking at the actual signal detail. I can see the time stamping of it. I can see the tactics and techniques that have been tagged and mapped in based on the threat content that our engineers are curating and managing. The entity name is attached to Rico Dynamite. And as I go down further, I can see the individual records, or in this case, just one record that matches and made this particular signal. And again, I'm going deeper and deeper. I can see geo IP. I can see that little US flag is kind of subdued in the background here. I'm not sure if it comes through Zoom accurately or not, but on my screen here, it's a faint US flag. And of course, that's just part of the geo location capability. Details and the different extracted fields. And a lot of this information is laid out in our overview. Some folks would rather look at it as a full details. Other folks want to go get the raw log and dump it out and download it. So be it. You can do that. You can export your signals as CSV or JSON files. We understand that you're going to use your own existing tradecraft, or you're going to want to keep using those tools. We just want to make it easier for you to use those tools, basically. There's also the ability that when you're looking in these signals, when you see somebody's username or IP addresses, you get these little context actions that pop up, and these little 6 blue dots or little 6 blue squares. When I click on that, now I'm greeted with one-click access to search the entire data set that we've got for all of searching the insights, the signals, and the entities for that IP address, or searching all of the actual native records for that IP address, or MAC address, or custom entity, whatever the entity description was. And I mentioned tradecraft. I know you're going to have 50 or 100 browser tabs open, and each one is going to different sites, and you might have it just always loaded. Well, think of this as another way of looking at things where you could be here investigating right here in Cloud SIEM in the Cloud SIEM Enterprise UI, and you're launching off actions based on that IP address to go to maybe look at your Talus Reputation Center, Google Safe Browsing Search, Virus Total, or even digging right back into all the Sumo Logic raw and unstructured data that you haven't brought in to the Cloud SIEM Enterprise correlation engine. You could search that data as well. And so what it's going to do, it's just going to fire off a browser and it's going to bring another browser tab. And so this is just another way of thinking about your workflow, that it doesn't have to be going off into loading up all your tabs, but use this as basically a lily pad. You're going to launch from here and keep doing your investigation. We want this to be fast. We want to get rid of all the manual workflows that you've normally attributed to it and just stay focused. That is the mission. When you've gone through this process and you realize that this is a valid threat and you need to take and formulate your response, you could have triggered an action automatically when the insight was generated. That's an option. You could trigger an action on demand by me clicking on this red button here and choosing from doing something with Slack. There's great integrations you can do and scripting there, and of course communication to other team members. PagerDuty if you've invested in that solution. ServiceNow for ticketing, for instance, or maybe you've invested in SOAR tools in the past. We have our own cloud SOAR tool. Maybe you've already invested in Demisto. That's the talking to folks in Microsoft Teams. And when you're looking at this other information, I'll just run through here. The status of the insight, it was new. I could have made that in progress or put it into my workflow. I could assign it to myself, to Dana. I can see the scoring. I can see the signal data, the dwell time, the tags. I could create additional tags. I could add my own comments for this particular insight as well. So the whole team is on the same page and we understand what this threat or what this potential attack was all about as we're researching it, or more important, when we want to reference back to it at a future date. When you're ready to close the insight, and again, time is of the essence. This is most folks will say that it takes up to 3-4 hours maybe to investigate a single incident. We want to bring this down to just minutes. So you close the insight when you're ready, choose your resolution, duplicate, false positives. There was no action needed or it was resolved. We also have a concept of these granular custom resolutions that you can set as nested children under the parent resolution. Folks, this helps you get more granular again to your workflows and your needs, while also helping to make sure that we can keep informing the crowdsourced global intelligence service of our confidence scoring, of whether something was resolved. That means it's legit. That means that we're going to let all the other customers know through the concept of a confidence score that when they see those same signals and those same insights firing, probably for the same underlying reason or attack that's happening maybe at a global level, then they have that confidence that this is something they need to act on first and quickly. And so when you're done with that, you go right back into the pot, you get into more insights and just keep moving through the day. And it's much easier to traverse a handful of insights versus trying to filter through and do rule stacking and other crazy tactics that you have to do when you're dealing with a million signals or a million notable events. So that's the demonstration I wanted to get across to you folks. I see the clock is dwindling here, so let me get back to finish out the slides because I'm talking about switches and buttons and features, but there's also people, the support that you need when you need it most in the form of our professional services, premium support, and even our special operations offering as well. So at this point, I'll flip over for questions. While I'm looking through the questions here, feel free to take out your camera, your phone, if you want to do a quick QR code snapshot and be driven right to our Cloud SIEM Enterprise page. That would be perfectly fine. Okay, we've got, let's see, for enterprise customers, how to activate this. Okay, so for existing Sumo Logic customers that are working on our platform, just work with your Sumo Logic sales rep or speak to your authorized Sumo Logic authorized reseller, and they'll help you have the conversation about adding this product, this add-on called Cloud SIEM Enterprise to your account. There's different things to consider too. The type of data that you're bringing in, the amount of data that you're bringing in, and if you're not already on our credits model, which is how you actually pay for and consume. You pay for the consumption of what you're using the data for. That's another differentiator for some folks that aren't yet a Sumo Logic customer. You're actually investing in the solution. The solution is then, it has the currency of a credit, and the credit is how you're consuming. And then you can, within the product, see your burn down rate and understand where you're at. And we average that over the course of a year, not just 30 days. So heaven forbid you've got some spikes in a particular month. It's not all doom and gloom, because you're looking at the entire year of your subscription as an average. So no sweat about that. So yes, reach out to your sales rep and have that conversation about that you'd like to see Cloud SIEM, in particular the Cloud SIEM Enterprise, which is the user interface that I just walked you folks through there. Another question is Cloud SIEM a separate product? So that ties into this other attendee's question. Yeah, Cloud SIEM is a solution, and there is also the specific Cloud SIEM Enterprise add-on. So in that first slide that I showed, where there was the spectrum of different solutions that we offer, it's really additive. It's building. It's building both with Sumo Logic, and it's also building on what your level of need is at. Some folks on this call probably don't need a cloud SOAR, whereas other folks, larger enterprise, with the pain of, you've solved the alerts, but now you just need better response times, you'd probably be looking at a cloud SOAR. Same thing for Cloud SIEM. If you're not experiencing the pain of alert fatigue, and you're not worried about correlating different threats and stringing them together from all of your different disparate data, if you're a shop that has just really, you just live in AWS and you just have 5 or 6 services and that's pretty much it, and maybe you use salesforce.com and a couple other tools, maybe just Sumo Logic with our cloud security monitor and analytics solution might be actually ideal for you. And so that's why I encourage you to have a conversation with our sales team. And those folks are in it to win it. They want to help and make sure that you've got exactly what you need. I really apologize for going over the time here, folks. I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Dana Torgersen, Torgersen at sumologic.com, as well as also there's the ability to have reach out to our sales team at sales@sumologic.com. In the chat here, I've also pointed out that you can join our public Slack channel at slack.sumologic.com and sign up for a free trial. You can get your hands on Sumo Logic's core platform and kick the tires and do so for 30 days if you'd like, to understand exactly what we can do and what we can do for your environment, actually. And yes, there will be, the recording has been going on this whole time, so we'll be able to share that out with you folks. And with that, again, I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing for Security here at Sumo Logic. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this has helped shed some light on what we can do for you for security. So thank you very much.